There are many challenges I think digital technology brings. We'll just list a few. So the first one I would say it brings is distraction. You know, we all live in this world now, right, where when our phones are on, we are surrounded by a barrage of bleeps, pings, notifications, alerts, and so on and so forth, which means our concentration span has now shortened. If I read somewhere that the average concentration span of the average adults now in the West is something like 1 minute, which is up there with the goldfish, actually. So because we're constantly used to hopping around all over the time. So distraction is a huge challenge, both in terms of keeping ourselves focused, but if we're trying to communicate to a culture that's always on to the next thing, that can be a challenge. Busyness comes out of this. You know, most people are overloaded. It's interesting, whenever new technology is invented, it's always sold to us with the idea this will be labor saving. I can remember when email was introduced into the workplace. So in my workplace in 1992, and it was with I still remember the sort of sales pitch from our IT department was this is going to save vast amounts of time. Well, it now turns out that the average worker spends 20% of their time dealing with email. We are deluged. We have so much information, we don't know what to do with it. So that's a huge challenge. The two other challenges I would list, we live in a world now where there's a phenomena that sociologists have termed digital flocking. That it's very, very easy to just hang out and listen to people just like us, and we end up living in echo chambers. Very interesting piece of work that showed the power of this. A few years ago, when the last presidential election occurred in America, there was a piece of research done showing that Republican voters online almost exclusively only shared content that was in favor of their particular candidate, Donald Trump in that case, and they ignored, rubbish, denigrated anything that came from the other side. And then you hop over to the other side, and the Democrats did the same in reverse. Anything that was pro-Biden got shared, anything the other side got ignored. You have these two great echo chambers. And that goes for almost any issue now in our culture. So the challenge for us as Christians is firstly, how do we communicate into those echo chambers? But then how do we make sure we are not creating one? It's very easy as a Christian just to hang out with people like us online. Not a good look. And then lastly, I would say, I think the last challenge for all of us living in this kind of digital culture is the shrillness and the shoutiness that exists online. I know that may come as a surprise to many of you listening to this. God, really? Does that happen? Go and hang out on Twitter for 30 seconds. You see people just yelling at each other, and there's no nuance, there's no subtlety. And that's tough, because as Christians, we want to be men and women who are engaging people in conversation and relationship and dialogue. And a lot of our digital tools don't create those kind of spaces well. And they can also encourage us to be loud and shouty. You know, we get an atheist shouting at us online, we start shouting back. So those are some of the challenges I would list to begin with.